Hi, everybody. I am Reina Morales from Magnify Wellness. I am Director of Art, and I am here with Antonia Mootoo. It's a
Hi,
pleasure to be talking with you.
thank you. Same to you.
Thank you. To start off, can you tell us about yourself?
Sure. So my name, as Reina said, is Antonia Mootoo. I'm a therapist in Trinidad and Tobago. I provide counseling and therapy for all different ranges of aspects. I'm also a certified psychiatric social worker. So I work with a lot of patients in terms of mental health, in terms of individual and family therapy, marital therapy, as well as just overwhelming issues that people may have personally. We help develop them and cope and learn behavioral patterns to overcome it.
Wow. How did you get into therapy and psychology?
Well, actually, when I was signing up for university, I just thought psychology would be cool.
Mhm.
And I decided to just get into it for my degree. And throughout the degree process, I realized how much I actually loved it because it helps you understand yourself as well
Mhm.
as people around you, and it gives you it encourages you to think a lot more than you normally do, and I love that aspect of it. So I did my degree actually in psychology, and then after I did my master's in clinical social work because I didn't want to just be limited to one field of practice. So decided to branch into clinical social work afterwards, and then I specialized in psychiatric counseling.
That's very clever. You gotta expand your horizons. Um, so what was your journey? How was your mental health exposed, and how were you exploring your own mental health as you were as you were following the mental health profession?
So in the earlies, I realized that in order to help other people, you have to kind of help yourself first. And you cannot be a good counselor, you can't be a good therapist unless you're actually aware of some of the issues that you have. Because what happens is, in this profession, if you don't treat for your own issues, they can have transference, counter transference. You can actually transfer all your different problems and relay them and project them onto your clients. Or if you don't treat for your issues, you can be very biased. So one of the first things that you had to do to become a professional is to check yourself and deal with your issues and understand where your biases, where your objectives, what do you have to learn to contain and learn to control, etc. So from the very beginning of studying psychology, I started to work on that and I started to develop my mental health. And working on me was for me, but also as a benefit to my profession because it helped me in my career because I understood certain things about certain categories of treatment, but I also went through some of the processes that a client goes through because you have to go for counseling before you become a counselor. You have to get therapy for yourself to go through that whole process and really understand this is what happens so you can really share with your client it's okay, you're going to get through this, it's a process, but it works. So
So I want to talk about some of your observations from your career.
sure.
Um, so you're a family therapist.
Yes.
Um, what is the average time that a family takes to progress or to open up about their issues?
Well, most of the time I always tell my clients that I like people that voluntarily want to come to counseling. I don't believe in forced therapy because if the person is not ready for counseling, it takes a lot longer to actually get into the process of revealing the issues at hand. So once it's a voluntary process and the person wants to get counseling, it's a lot easier to get the conversation started because they want to get the help. They want to open up to you. And I think most of the time within the first session, my clients and I usually set up that rapport and they get comfortable. So by the second session, it's more or less like, an understanding of the process and going through it. For children, however, it's about building a trust with them. So it takes a little bit longer, maybe 2 or 3 sessions, to get them comfortable enough to want to just kind of tell you information as is, versus in the beginning, in the first session, they're now trying to feel you out, if they can trust you, if it's okay, if they're going to get in trouble. So sometimes I take a little bit longer with that process with kids, just for them to feel comfortable enough to want to have the honesty of the process go through.
That's very interesting. What is the most common issue on families?
Well, that's a lot. So if it's usually the couple, it's more like marriage and relationship counseling. Sometimes it's about issues with regards to parenting. For kids, most of the time, it's right now, I have a lot of kids that are dealing with stress with regards to school and managing the stay at home, how they're dealing with online school, as well as behavioral issues. Sometimes children are going through a lot of stress and anxiety, and so they have these self-harming mechanisms that they're engaging in, depression, lowered self-esteem. So all these issues I deal with a lot of younger kids in terms of. And in terms of teenagers, it's more about the rebellious behavior, the trying to survive life with parents, the clash between parents and teenagers, puberty, etc. So depending on the age range of the family that's coming in, the problems are usually common. But as I said, it's not limited to just that, because sometimes you'll have a family that comes in and it's something that's not a very common issue, but at the same time, it's very much treatable, because any issue that family comes in with, most of the issues lie behind communication, behind being honest, behind trusting each other, behind support. So even though the issues itself, the problems are varying, the treatment itself and the reasons why these problems occur are very common in terms of communication, trust, etc., etc.
So you mentioned that you also work with individuals. What is the difference between family therapy and working with individuals, apart from the fact that it's more people in a session?
Well, definitely more people makes it a little bit harder, because I would have sessions where, one person will want to talk and the other person wants to talk, and it's about managing the treatment and the session itself, and having everybody share and everybody feel like they're being heard. In an individual session, it's a lot easier for that, because it's a two-person conversation. My client gets to talk and then I respond, etc. So it's a lot easier to manage an individual session in terms of the talking than a family session. However, I find family sessions are more engaging, because you have all these different personalities and all these different viewpoints. It's a lot easier to get a point across, because one person is always thinking something along those lines, and it's just to kind of turn the others to see it from a different perspective, so they can understand each other in terms of the differences. In an individual, it's about getting that person to understand, okay, this is their problem, how would they like to treat for it, and coming up with options that they see for their issues.
Was it always easier for you to lead a conversation in a family therapy, or you had to work for it?
I think before I actually started my profession, I got a lot of practice when I was going to school. So they really prepped you, or they really helped you develop. And I did a lot of volunteer training before I actually became a professional. So I volunteered for summers, I volunteered during my free time to go to different clinics, etc. So I got a lot of practice just as a student before I actually got into the working world. So I think that really helped me get comfortable with talking to people. And as time passes, I do believe that your experience helps so much in terms of your professionalism and your comfort level. So now I feel totally confident to just have a conversation with anybody, have a conversation with a stranger about any issue, or stand up and give a lecture. But in the beginning, I would have been nervous to stand up in front of these strange people and give a lecture. But because you have so much experience after a while, it comes with a comfort.
That's great. So my next question was, what are the most common issues? You already addressed this as well. But can you expand on them? What are the most common issues that you address with young patients of my generation?
As I said, a lot of it recently is about coping with COVID-19. Having to stay at home, not having as much social access to your friends, having to deal with your parents a lot more often, having to manage school. And a lot of kids right now put a lot of personal pressure on themselves to be academically successful. And it's created a lot of lowered self-esteem, questions in their self-confidence, a lot of social media and bullying as well. So in terms of having to build a child's mental health back up to par because of these influences of social media, which I find is a gross problem that we definitely need to treat for, because it's becoming alarmingly overwhelming for kids to just have access to social media without the worry of being bullied or witnessing somebody being bullied.
So there are a lot of social media domains like Magnify Wellness, and a shout out to the first project who are trying to spread positivity towards young people through Instagram, through positive vibes.
Yeah,
What
and I
is
think
some,
I think it's such a great project that you all are engaging in, because more kids need to be on the positive movement versus just reactive to everything that's happening. So I commend you all for that.
Thank you, we appreciate it. What is something that we are not talking about yet and you think that we should?
I think what we need to talk about is making any conversation comfortable. A lot of people are afraid to talk about mental health in terms of their personal, they're all for mental health, but in terms of personal experiences, people still aren't comfortable having conversations that I am a victim of, or I have felt this. A simple thing like cutting. A lot of teens experience that, but nobody ever wants to say, I have cut myself. They will always say, there are a lot of teens cutting. I would like people to more talk about personal experiences and make it comfortable and not shameful, nothing that you can stigmatize me by, because at the end of the day, if one person makes it comfortable to talk about, others will feel comfortable to say, listen, I know what you're going through. I went through that as well. And they'll want to have a conversation with you. And once the conversation starts, then the treatment can come. Smooth
I
flow.
agree. Yeah, that is very encouraging for sure. Do you ever feel stigmatized for working in a field that is not as popular at the moment?
So funny enough, I usually still have clients that come in and tell me I don't believe in the process, or I don't think therapy will work for me, or they just think therapy is a sham. And I don't get fazed by it. I just smile and I say, okay, well, just give me 5 minutes, give me a little bit of your time. Let's have a conversation, let's see how it goes. Most of the time, if not all, I don't think I've ever had an experience where a client said, leaving my office, that they didn't believe in therapy after. I think most of the time people are just caught up in their preconceived notions that therapy doesn't work. It's why do I have to go and pay to talk to a stranger, or how is this stranger going to help me by just having a conversation with me? But once they actually get the experience of a proper professional therapeutic session, their minds are blown, their minds are changed completely. But always make sure that your therapist is professional. Make sure that your therapist has that educational background, has that experience, and is very professional in terms of being objective, being honest in their process, being confidential, etc., non-judgmental. All those things are essential for the process to be true and for the person, the client, to have a good experience with it. Outside of those things, I think stigmatization is just being able to get your foot in the door and say, listen, therapy can help me, therapy can work, you just have to give it a chance. Once you get past that, all stigmas are done there.
Wow. How do you feel? Oh, sorry. How does being in this field help you with your own relationship with yourself and the people around you?
In terms of the relationship with myself, I'm constantly analyzing myself, checking my growth, making sure that, I put my priorities in check, making sure that I practice what I preach. So sometimes, everybody's human. We all have our ups and our downs. And I actually put into place the things that I talk to my clients about. So let's say I would have had a distressing experience. I would do the same thing that I would tell my client to do and go through that process. And that way I make sure that what I tell my clients to help them, I make sure that helps me first, so that I know that it will be able to help them. It may need to be tweaked a little bit to suit their personnel, but at the same time, I believe in what I talk about. I believe in what I experience. I believe in what I treat for my clients, and I practice it through my own experience. In terms of my relationship with others, most of my friends and family always think I'm analyzing them. I'm not sure I actually do that. Maybe it's become unconscious to me, but people are always thinking, why are you trying to analyze me? But I don't actually consciously try to do it. I think maybe it just comes to me like a reflex now. But I always try to see their perspective from an objective term. And even when I'm talking to my friends, I don't give subjective advice. I will tell them from a third party point of view, so that even though they're my friends, etc., I still try to give them that kind of fairness of an objective point of view. So most of my friends tell me, I get therapy for free, but I always try to be that person that will not be judgmental or subjective in terms of trying to help them, but let them see it from an outside perspective, so they can choose after that which way they want to go.
Mm-hmm. As you said, it is very important to work on yourself in order for you to help others. What are some of the practices that you do, like journaling or lighting candles, if that helps?
For myself,
Yeah.
I do a lot of blogging. I actually, I'm soon going to launch a new website, sincerelyme.com, which I am going to make available to my clients and to everyone who wants to do anonymous blogging. Because just like journaling, except it's easier because it's online. So you can just blog on your phone, you go on the website, you can create whatever. He has an online journal where everything that is personal about you remains confidential. I don't even have to know who you are, your real identity, and you just say whatever you want to say. It's like your version of ventilating, except it's out there to the masses. And support, you can comment, can say, hey, I went through this, I tried this. So it's still like a support website as well. So it's not just about ventilating how you feel, but others can mention you and support you and message you and say how they can help or how it helped when they were in that situation, etc. So I've been kind of following up with that. But I do a lot of blogging. I also do a lot of reflection. So I more or less take a lot of time during my day, especially in the afternoon when I'm winding down, to just make sure that everything that I did for the day was good, what I was grateful for, how to move forward. I engage in a lot of positive self-talk. I mean, nobody's going to talk to you as nice unless you talk to yourself nice first. So a lot of just reflection, making sure that I'm in check with who I am, self-awareness practices. But it's a day-to-day process, so it goes along as the day goes.
That's great. I will be sure to check out that blog soon.
Yeah, I actually haven't launched it yet, so you're the first person that I've spoken to about it yet. But yeah, if anybody is interested, it's www.sincerelyme.com. You can probably search for it on Google. It's attached to Theraco Consultants.
Thank you. One of the practices that I do is journaling, and sometimes I take dancing breaks where I just stop everything I do and I play my favorite songs and I just dance to them.
I actually like music, but country music actually is my relaxed mood music. So whenever I want to de-stress, I listen to country music.
It's great.
But I love that you're journaling. I think journaling is always something that's so good. You can vent how you feel and get it out of your system. So that's a great practice.
Oh, thanks. What surprised you the most when you began working as a therapist?
What surprised me the most about what job or me?
Anything.
What surprised me the most? I think what I'm still kind of surprised about is how comfortable I was with dealing with very uncomfortable topics. I was kind of shocked that I was so mentally strong that I was not as affected as some of my other co-workers when I now started the business in terms of like certain topics. So topics like sexual assault, topics such as incest, topics like abortion or murder. I dealt with all those issues, and I think I shocked myself that I was able to cope with those things and not take it home with me. So I treated for it professionally, but it didn't affect my personal life. I didn't carry the issues on within me. And I mean, I had to mentally make sure that I was never doing that, but I was surprised at how easy it came to be able to do that versus some people that struggle. So, and
that is something that is very that it can be very dangerous for a therapist.
Yes, you should. If you know that you're carrying your client's personal issues within yourself and that you're being affected by it, you definitely need to go and get that checked. You definitely need to help yourself, because that's not good for you or for the clients in terms of being a professional.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all your insight, Antonia. It was a very nice experience talking to you. And thank you for giving us a chunk of your time.
Well, I really appreciate the invite for this interview. As I said, I think what you all are doing is such a beautiful platform, and I think more kids need to get involved with things like this to preoccupy themselves. If you preoccupy yourself with positive activities, there's no space for the negativity to creep in. And I hope that you all keep up, and I hope that you all can reach masses where people can be inspired and people can support and people can grow from it, you know? So power to you, good luck. And if you ever need me in the future for any help, feel free to shoot me a message or give me a call.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Have a blessed day.
Bye. Thank you. Same.
Bye-bye.